and welcome to Playing Other Games, the YouTube series all about RPGs I've played and my experiences with them. Considering this is the very first episode, I might as well explain the premise of this show. I got into tabletop RPGs via Dungeons & Dragons, and I played exclusively Dungeons & Dragons for years, and had a lot of fun. Eventually, though, someone else introduced me to other games, and having played a lot more games, I've come to realize I don't particularly like Dungeons & Dragons. I don't hate it, but it's not my first choice for getting people together to run games for. These videos are made in the hopes I will help you, dear listener, find your favorite game by means of my overview. Without further ado, let's get on to the topic of this show, my favorite game, Capers, a superpowered game of gangsters in the Roaring Twenties. Capers is a card-based RPG centered around the central premise of the subtitle you heard just seconds ago. You play as criminals in the underworld of a 1920s America, under which people with superpowers have started recently appearing. Actions that have uncertain results are determined by drawing from a standard set of 52 playing cards and taking into account both the value of the pips on the cards as well as the suits. The pips decide how well you do, while the suits decide if there are any extra narrative effects that result because of the check. You can draw as many cards for the checks as the relevant trait score, as well as a few simple modifiers related to relevant skills, as well as situational modifiers. You must use the last card you drew. The core of combat will be familiar to anyone versed in D&D, with initiative tracking, movement speed, 6-second rounds, and damage being dealt out in a way that is counted in discrete hit points that don't really affect your character's ability to act. So, if you're trying to get a group to play that is mainly versed in D&D, they should be relatively in their comfort zone once combat begins. And considering this is a game drawing on both violent mobsters and superheroes, a fight is going to break out eventually. The good. Here are the bits of the system I love as a game master. Using the cards is just a great choice because not only does it help reinforce the idea that every action you take is a gamble, but also helps make luck work right. Human beings are really bad at probability. We think, oh, we've been rolling low all night. That means now it's more likely we'll roll high. Even if our rational brains tell us this isn't true, it feels like it should be true. But by using cards, this is actually true. For every bad card you draw, you are more likely to draw a good card. And that's just very nice, as it minimizes the chance that someone is just going to have a bad time by getting nothing but bad die rolls. Secondly, I want to comment on player death, because I think this system handles it amazingly. As a game master, you are unable to kill off a character. You can only kill a character if the player wants the character to die. I know that sounds confusing at first, but let me explain. When a character drops 0 hits, the player can make a choice. Either you find a narrative reason that the character is taken out. This could be really anything. It could be, oh, they get their arm blown off and they pass out. Or you can choose to let the character die. If you let the character die, the character will then have one more turn of life where they are essentially invincible and can try anything they want to and die as soon as the character is done, allowing them to essentially go out in a blaze of glory. I love this for multiple reasons. One, it takes out the fear of accidentally killing a PC off when you didn't mean to. 2, it mimics the superhero style of storytelling where death at the end of the day is more of a suggestion. And 3, when a PC does in fact die, it allows the player to feel incredibly badass as they go out in style. Another aspect I really appreciate about the game is the power level. When talking about superhero media, it's very easy to have a character whose power level increases to the point where there's no real fear of anything bad happening to them without a threat big enough to, destroy the galaxy. Capers keeps the power ceiling low. The average person in this game can survive roughly 1 shot with a shotgun. The average PC, on the other hand, can survive roughly 3 shots with a shotgun. The average person in this game can run at average speed. The fastest a character with super speed can run while pushing themselves is about the average speed of a coyote. These are still superhuman feats, but they aren't exactly faster than a speeding bullet or more powerful than a locomotive. Because of this, the game allows for non-powered superheroes to fit into play without any of the players feeling like they're making suboptimal decisions about deciding to play a Batman-style character instead of a Superman. Role-playing is heavily emphasized on by a system called the Three Anchors, giving a character a virtue, vice, and identity. Playing to these anchors gives you an in-game resource that you can spend for both mechanical and narrative benefits, making so if you want optimal play, you really need to get into the mindset of your character. That's just really fun to watch as a game master. Another thing I deeply enjoy about this system is the fact that it's incredibly fast to play. Even when time slows down for combat, the game goes at lightning speed. Obviously, it takes a while for the system to be totally understood, but it's easy to wrap your mind around as it's a somewhat minimal system that simplifies a lot of things and makes it incredibly easy to learn, allowing you to get into the flow of the game that just feels great. Almost every session is just filled to the brim with good, pulpy action because it's so fast to learn. The last thing I'm going to touch on is that I just love this game as a game master because it's so easy to run. Because of the more minimal rules, it's incredibly easy to just improvise a character's stats on the spot. And it's really quite rare that you do that because the core book is filled with numerous stat blocks of people that you can use right out of the book, no need to buy additional ones. It also comes with a lot of information on various cities in America during the 1920s, allowing you to get a game running in a city without needing extra research on your part. That honestly makes things so much easier. On top of that, they also have alternate Earths that you can use to add some more fun flavors to your game if you want to, ranging from alien invasions to the rise of robots. The bad. I don't really have much to say here as this is my favorite system, but I have a few minor gripes, although I can't exactly blame them entirely on the system. The game, from my experience, loses a whole lot while playing on virtual tabletops. This isn't really a gripe about the system, it's really more a gripe about virtual tabletops. I haven't really found any virtual tabletops that handle cards well, and some, or a lot of them actually just don't handle them at all. So it makes playing on a VTT pain in the ass, because the card system there just sucks and requires you to essentially just flip cards manually instead of using the program. It's not game-breaking, but I feel like it's important to note considering it's 2020 at time of recording. Another thing that can hamper play somewhat is that you need cards for the system. While I think it adds a lot to the system and helps it greatly, a lot of people I know just don't have card decks lying around. They have liters upon liters of dice, but no cards. It's not a huge problem in any means, but it does sometimes lead to people not wanting to play as they just don't want to bother going out and getting cards. This is still a lower barrier to entry than like a set of polyhedral dice because I've gotten decks of cards at gas stations, but for hardcore RPG players, it can be a mild annoyance. The extra. Capers is an absolutely wonderful flavor of game. I've never seen the aesthetic mixture of both the 1920s and superpowers before, and it's just incredibly aesthetically interesting because of that combination. The supplements for the game are incredibly fun for me because they focus on bringing new flavors and details rather than expanding on the 1920s. You have a noir supplement that focuses on being a super gumshoe detective in a world filled with ghosts. You have a spy supplement that's all about being a cool superhero with spy gadgets and high-speed chases. And then you have Offworld, and that is all about expanding into the stars and exploring the cosmos in a Rocket Age-styled space. All of these have more powers for people to use as well, with additional rules that allow you to easily run various things, ranging from investigations, to seductions, to being corrupted by ghosts, to even being in high-speed vehicular chases. Closing thoughts. Honestly, this is just a great game. I've spent the entire video fawning about it, and I recommend it wholeheartedly to anyone who's interested in a modern game. Seriously, just go and get yourself a copy. There will be a link in the description. And I guess this is the end of the video. I'm new to the whole YouTube thing, so like, comment, subscribe, sacrifice a child. Just have fun. Bye-bye!